We are finishing up our sex talk tonight. We're actually going to be talking about it all month long, but as y'all know, a lot of stuff kind of happens in communities, so we switch gears a little bit. We're going to talk about the gender role of what it means to be a biblical masculine man on one night. We're going to talk about what it means to have the gender role of a biblical feminine woman on a night, and then we're going to talk about parenting on one night. And but we're going to squash all three sermons into one. So I'm ready to give you a ton of information. So be ready to listen, be ready to write, be ready to just to make sure you get it all in your head so that you remember, because I believe, as the Bible teaches, these are some huge things for your life. Huge things for your life that will change your life. That will change your future. That will change your family. Can I get an amen now? Amen. So, when I was in college, many moons ago, I went on this wilderness trip. I was in college in northeastern Pennsylvania, and so guys, come and turn down these lights there, that'd be awesome. I was in college in northeastern Pennsylvania, and so Canada wasn't too far away. So one of the trips that they did while I was in college was a wilderness spiritual pilgrimage, or to kind of go out in the wilderness of Canada with other Christians to really commune together and fellowship together and study God's Word together, and just to have awesome opportunities to get alone with God. Well, they were trying to teach us like all these different lessons while we were there in the wilderness, and one lesson one day was to love and to serve others. To love and to serve others. And the way the trip was set up is there were two people in a canoe, and literally you would canoe all day long, and there were different parts of the day that you would, what's called portage, all right? Portage. Portaging is when you take the canoe out of the water, you put it on your shoulders, and you carry it on land to the next lake so you can do some more portaging. So every pair got a canoe, and they got a huge, like, 50 to 80-pound canoe, 50-pound backpack filled with all your clothes, your food, and different things like that in each of the pairs. Well, because it was Love and Service Day, I just happened to be paired up with one dude that day that, how was I saying it? He looked kind of like Ernie from Bert and Ernie. Okay? In all honesty, he was, you could tell the wilderness wasn't really his thing. You know, he would rather be playing wilderness portaging on PlayStation, and probably struggling. His thumbs would probably get tired. And so he was really struggling. So I said, you know what? The way I'm going to serve this dude on this day, I'm going to take the pack and I'm going to take the canoe. And I'm going to take a bow, and then he can just, whenever I have a bow, then he can just leave me. Because the way I would do it is I would have the pack on my back, and then the canoe I would place on my shoulders. Then I figured out if you lean the canoe forward to where it balanced on your head as well, you have 3 points. It wasn't as heavy on the shoulders. The only problem is I couldn't see where I was going. So he had to be in front of me, dragging a branch behind him so I could see where I was going, right? So we got to this one portaging trail that was only supposed to be about 200 feet, somewhere around 70 yards or so, and it wasn't supposed to be long at all, and so it was one of our first ones. I was like, all right, man, I'm taking the pack, I've got the canoe, it's down on my head, can't see anything, he's got the branch, he's leading us along, and he's like, oh man, Chip, I don't see anybody, man. I don't see anybody. And so I'm like, well, let's keep walking, let's keep going. I can't see anything, I don't know what's going on. We walk for about 75 yards, we don't see anybody. We walk for about 100 yards, we don't see anybody. We walk for about another 10 minutes. Another 10 minutes. Somewhere around a mile. And we don't see anyone at all. I'm like, dude, I can't see Jack. What the heck's going on? Right? And he's like, man, we haven't seen anybody, you know. We'll just keep walking. Well, that's easy for you to say. I've got pack and canoe on my back. And so finally, after about going a mile, I took off the canoe, I took off the pack, and I said, okay, what happened? He said, seriously, we're not there yet. There's still longer to go. I said, okay. You stay here with the canoe and the pack. All I had on was just my light vest and my canoeing clothes or whatever. I said, I'll run ahead because it would take him a very long time to run ahead. I will run ahead and I will see where they are, and I'll come back and get you. All right. So left him there, and I started running ahead. And I ran and I ran and I ran. I ran about 5 minutes. And it's kind of one of those things that when you run into the woods, it looks like around every corner, around every turn is where the lake's going to be, is where the people's going to be. So I'm like, okay, one more corner, one more turn. Maybe that's going to be them. So I run about 5 minutes, about 7 minutes. I run, basically a whole mile. And I'm running. No one's there. I can't find anybody. Finally, I figured out after I run about a mile, somewhere to a mile, between 2 miles into the woods, I stop and I remember, oh my gosh, I am all by myself in the Canadian forest with a bright yellow come and eat me life jacket on, okay? Because there's moose, there's bear, there's abominable snowman, there's all kind of things around, Sasquatches, you know what I'm saying? Bigfoot was there, right? So I get honestly a little bit nervous. Because I realize I am all by myself. No one is within a mile of me. So I freak out. Go back the other direction. Go back, and there is the pack, and there is the canoe. And the dude's gone. The dude's gone. My first reaction is, awesome. And I was like, no, that's not good. So I was like, okay, something's wrong. So the only thing I know to do is to go back where we first started. So I put the pack back on, I put the canoe back on. I go back and I'm just I'm like bouncing back and forth between trees because I can't see anything, And I finally get back to the start, and there the dude was at the start with the rest of the group. And I'm like, what you doing? I'm getting mad. I'm like, what kind of trick is this? A joke? What's going on? And he said, no, man. He said, after you started running, the guys came and found me, and we yelled for you, but we figured you'd make it back eventually. And so we found out that there was a Y in the road. There's a Y in the road at the very beginning, and we took a right, and if we went to the left, they were like right there around the corner. So I was absolutely, obviously ticked off, right? Ticked off. And here's what I learned. You can have a dreamed, desired destination in mind. But if you're not going the direction you're supposed to be going, it doesn't matter. What we're talking about with sex talk, with gender roles tonight, what it means to be a biblical man and a biblical woman, here's the deal. The way you view your gender, the way if you're a godly man, if you're a godly woman, the way that God has designed you and how He's called you to live, you might have incredible dreams in your mind of a godly family, having a godly husband, having a godly wife, having godly children. Everyone is happy, everyone's loving each other, a model example family to where other people look in and they see that's exactly what I want to have, that everyone is loving church, enjoying church, and just one big, happy, Brady Bunch kind of family together. You might have those dreams. You might have that destination in mind, but you may be going a completely different direction to where you are not going to end up at a destination to where you are going to be a godly man or a godly woman. Tonight, in the next 30 minutes, I want to talk with you real quick. I want you to take as many notes as you can. And I want you to remember this quote here that is on your sheet. Go with that first slide up. Here's your quote. Your direction, not your desire, determines your destination. Your direction, not your desire, determines your destination. You might have a dreamy destination in mind, the perfect, the right, the biblical, God's kind of destination in your mind that you want to be in 10, 20, 30, 40 years. But you may be on a completely different direction, a completely different trajectory that you are not going to end up where you thought that direction was going to take you in that destination. Does that make sense? You got me? Okay, you got me. Good. Now, there are also, here we go. So I want to talk to you tonight about beauties and beasts, right? Godly gender roles, how we can be godly men and godly women for Jesus. But first, we've got to talk about some ungodly ones. So go ahead and put up this next slide here. Let me tell you about, first of all, some unbiblical kind of guys, okay? First of all, and by the way, Just so you know, I'm not necessarily saying on all of these if they do it something like gamers. Obviously, guys, we love to play video games. Am I right? All right, we love to play video games. We're guys. I'm addicted to Angry Birds on my Mac. I play Angry Birds fans. I should have never downloaded it until I don't do it. But there are guys out there that their life is completely consumed with playing video games, which means that they're never living real life. In fact, they're not happy, they're not whole, they're not complete unless they can play their video games. If they don't get their video games that day, they are like a baby whining without their passive, okay? And so they are so codependent upon their video games, they're living in their fantasy world, that their direction is not taking them to a destination of being a godly guy. You think about guys who are lazy, or they're lasers. The guys who, they can't get out of bed in the morning. They have to they have to sleep in all the time. They sleep over 9, 10 hours a night. They don't go to school on time. When they get home, they lay on the couch. They don't help out around their house. Their mom is just doing everything she can to keep everything in order. She's doing everything in the kitchen, everything in the home. The dad works hard all day long. He gets home. He does everything that he needs to do around the house. And what's the teenage guy doing? He is sitting on the couch watching, I don't know, the new Never Say Never movie. I mean, he's watching some lame movie and he's playing video games and he's lazy. He's lazy. He is not going to be a godly man. He's not going to be a godly man. That's his direction. Next, mama haters. Mama haters. A mama hater is somebody who never gets along with their mother, and so this dude fights with his mom all the time, fights with her, instead of taking care of her, instead of encouraging her, instead of loving her. He is not a godly man going in a godly direction because he will not be able to love his wife. A player, someone who cannot make up his mind on a girl. He's talking to all kinds of different girls at the same time, and so he wants all these kind of different girls to like him all the time. He's saying the same things to every girl so that he can be the center of several different girls' affection or emotion or attention. A hater. A player. A player is ungodly. A player is ungodly, and he's going to have a very tough time in marriage keeping his eyes on his wife. A stalker and a creeper. Okay? Stalker and creeper. A creeper is someone who is just totally, completely awkward, right? And they don't know how to take no for an answer. And so guys, just understand, there is something there. If a girl tells us no, we want to continue to pursue, but there is a fine line of being rejected and continue to pursue what you want and being a creeper. All right? There's a difference in a pursuer and a creeper. A stalker is someone who likes the girl. He doesn't know how to talk to her, or he just watches her all the time. He goes to all the places where she's at. He's constantly smoking her pictures on Facebook or doing it. He is a stalker. He's a creeper. And we don't face those kind of guys at CBSM. All right, real quick. A church skipper. Guys, being a church skipper is not a godly man going in a godly direction, because you want to be a godly husband, a godly father, that you raise your kids, your family, your wife, you raise your entire family in church. You want to start that process in your life, in your family. If you're skipping church now, then you know the direction that you're going.